Welcome back to another episode of Keep It Electric. This is episode 82. I am your host, Tremaine Person, and this recording is taking place on Thursday, April 24th, right after the Mariners just won their first series in Boston, their first series win at Fenway Park since 2014. So it's been over a decade of watching the Mariners get punished in Boston and maybe even covering our eyes while we watch. There's a lot to unpack. In the last week, the Mariners did continue their series winning streak, winning 5 straight series. Since the last episode, they've won 2 more, taking 2 out of 3 in Toronto and 2 out of 3 in Boston. Now, I have the privilege to cover 5 different Major League Baseball teams inside the network of Fansided. The Mariners are my bread and butter. I love them. I'm a lifelong Mariners fan. You can catch some of those articles at sotomojo.com. You can also find the link to the 5 other teams I cover at keepitelectricpod.com. This podcast is currently being recorded on Thursday, April the 24th. You can find it on YouTube. You can watch along and watch some of the highlights that I cover there. You can also listen on your favorite platform, whether it be Apple, Spotify, or whatever your favorite is. I'm also there as well. So let's just jump right into it here. We don't really like Toronto that much, and Toronto doesn't really like Seattle that much. That's why whenever the blue invasion occurs, when Toronto heads over to Seattle, I sometimes want to go. I sometimes just don't really want to deal with it. So when Seattle goes to Toronto, my eyes are glued to the screen, just like most Mariners fans, and losing to Toronto sucks. So winning that series was awesome. It's also great to watch Cal Raleigh continue to stay hot in Toronto, but it was even better. The sweetest moment probably came with Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy Tellez, homecoming, going back to Toronto, the team that drafted him, and he hit a home run in all 3 games. He scored the only run in game 1 when the Mariners lost 3-1. He hit the solo shot, but in game 2 on the 19th, he had a dramatic grand slam in the 12th inning. That was his second homer of the series, and it helped the Mariners win that one 8-4 in a 12-inning game. The very next day, Rowdy Tellez picked up where he left off, another 2-run shot, bringing his total to 3 in the entire series. He went 3 for 12 with 3 home runs. His 3 hits were 3 home runs, 7 ribbies, really just instrumental in making sure the Mariners came away with the series wins. Now, as we recap this Red Sox series, there were some calls for concern in certain areas. There's been a velocity dip with Bryce Miller. Don't really know what's happening there, but he could not reach high velocity with that fastball. As you know, the biggest thing with Bryce Miller right now, he's still continuing to mix his pitches pretty well, but his bread and butter is the high spin rate and the high velocity in that fastball, and it just wasn't working against Boston, and they really made him pay for it. So the Mariners didn't really have a chance in that first game. They lost that one 8-3. There were some issues with Rivas at second. He didn't really contribute to the Mariners losing, but he definitely made sure that the door was closed. A very basic ground ball in the bottom of the 7th. Rivas sailed that one past Donovan Solano, and that pushed the game to 8-3. It was really not a great display at all for the Mariners in that game. And honestly, it was very conducive to what we expect when the Mariners go to Boston. Game 2, the game that really would have determined which direction this series was going in. Emerson Hancock was taking the mound, and as we all know right now, Emerson Hancock is basically a roll of the dice. Hancock showed up throwing heat. I mean, he was hitting 95. I think he hit 96 on that fastball at one point, but he was just commanding the zone, throwing high velocity fastballs. He finished the game with the final line of 6 innings. He allowed 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and 7 strikeouts from Emerson Hancock over the Boston Red Sox. That lineup is no slouch at all. And the fact that Emerson Hancock can hang tough with them for 6 innings really says a lot. So the Mariners walk away with a victory. And then game 3, the rubber match with Garrett Crochet on the mound. Brian Wu spends another phenomenal game. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, posting another quality start. This is Brian Wu's 5th quality start out of his 6 outings so far this year. Brian Wu, by far right now, is performing like the best pitcher on this team. And I would say it's not close, but honestly, Logan Gilbert is hanging tough in there. Logan Gilbert has been a tough luck loser so far, and that's what happens when you are the ace of the club and you're facing the opposing club's other ace. He's had some tough luck, and he's been rocked once or twice. Wu right now he's getting out of jams. He's showing a ton of resilience, and he is looking as much as the pitcher that we expected him to look like coming to this season. I think the biggest shout out outside of the stellar starting pitching that we saw in game 2 and game 3 of this series, it's got to be the bottom of the lineup in Seattle. Let's take a look. We have Ben Williamson, Leo Rivas, and J.P. Crawford. They are the reason why the Mariners won game 3. If you look at their numbers in game 3, all three of those guys went 5-for-11 in game 3, and they were crucial to turning the lineup over. Now, winning a game in Boston by only scoring 4 runs is quite a long shot, but they were set up really well with Bryan Woo. Dan Wilson wisened up and decided to not throw out Trent Thornton for a full inning and decided to just use him for one at bat versus Alex Bregman to get them out of the 8th. He instead decided to lean on Gabe Spire, who's been pitching lights out, and Colin Snyder before handing the ball over to Andres Munoz. That's got to be the recipe for Dan Wilson going forward, because Trent Thornton is not getting it done. And that's no offense to him. It's just the truth. Trent Thornton has pitched, I think, 10 innings so far, 10.1 innings so far. He's allowed 6 earned runs. He is a victim of the home run ball. He does not look good. So he's also out of minor league options. So you can't put him back into the minors. You're going to have to outright him if you want him off your roster. So your only option right now is to play Trent Thornton in specific situations until you can build up enough confidence to put him out there for a full inning, or even if you want to get him for a clean inning. Is that worth it? Right now, probably, because right now they're paying for flights for Casey Lawrence to show up every other day. So they're kind of out of options, literally, with Trent Thornton. The only option they really have is just to just hope that he figures it out. But the next thing that we really need to talk about is Ben Williamson. And there's no way of sugarcoating this. We don't need to see Ben Williamson rotated in any type of platoon at third base anymore. Ben Williamson should be the everyday starter at third base for the Seattle Mariners. And you don't need any longer of a look for it. He's appeared in 9 games since he got his major league call up. And over those 9 games, he's hitting .303. He's got a home run. He is putting up some lengthy at-bats. The strikeouts are there, and we knew the strikeouts were going to come. He's only racked up 90 minor league games before he got the call. He was just drafted in 2023. But this guy is putting up really tough at-bats. He is hanging in there tough versus righties, versus lefties. He's hitting the ball super hard. He doesn't really hit for power, and we knew that. But we also knew that coming with Ben Williamson was not the bat. We were calling him up for the glove, and the glove is definitely there. He's pulling off plays at third base that we have not seen all year before his call-up. Outside of the really cool Dylan Moore play, I think that was against the Astros. A really great play by him where he kind of bobbled and then picked it up on third base and threw it. Whatever. That doesn't really matter. Ben Williamson is a highlight reel. He is putting on a display hitherto undreamt of at the third base spot right now. And he has earned every reason and every right to be there full time until further notice, right? I mean, the guy's hit safely in 7 out of his 9 first games. There's no sign of slowing down. And until we start to see some regression, I don't think there's any reason to be plugging in Miles Mastroboni or Dylan Moore unless it is a routine day off for Ben Williamson. Miles Mastroboni, Dylan Moore, Leo Rivas, they can all figure it out at second base. You could throw them out in right field. I don't really care. Just don't mess with the situation at third base. Ben Williamson and J.P. Crawford have the left side of the diamond covered. And that's all there is to say about it. The Mariners have got to figure out this thing with Donovan Solano. And I feel like it's really getting at a crossroads right now, because before you know it, Donovan Solano is not going to be on the Mariners roster much longer. He's hitting under 100 right now. I think his batting average coming into today was .086. His last time was .086/.0 .83/.086. The guy is horrible. He struck out, I think, another time today. So he's had 13 strikeouts in less than 40 at bats. And I don't think the guy stinks. I don't think it's really about that. I think it's actually, he's kind of stuck in a similar position as Luke Raley was when Luke Raley started the year off. There's really no dedicated role to Donovan Solano right now. He's either going to be a pinch hitter or right now he's platooning when there is a lefty on the mound. I don't think that's really working either. His numbers weren't really that far apart when it came down to him hitting against lefties and hitting against righties. He does hit slightly better against lefties, but at this point, you put him on the field and it's a liability. He showed up in 15 games so far and his WAR is almost already at -1. This guy is literally losing you games. And I don't think it's necessarily all of his fault. I think it's really the fact that there's no way to establish any real footing or any real rhythm to Donovan Solano. He's a 37-year-old veteran. His contract is kind of dedicated to a role similar to what he's playing. But I really think that he needs some rhythm in order for him to produce. And if the Mariners keep throwing him out there, if not to even just say the Mariners, if Dan Wilson continues to use Donovan Solano the way that he's being used, his time is running out and is running out fast. And I don't really want that for him. But right now he's kind of taking up a roster spot. And at this point, if you want to pinch hit Rowdy Tellez when there's a lefty on the mound, you might as well leave Tellez in. Because right now he's presenting a better opportunity to hit against a lefty in a lefty-lefty matchup than Donovan Solano presents like at all. Not only that, his footwork is clearly not as good as Tellez. And Tellez is a big guy, but he's shown that he can be light-footed over at first base. And Solano kind of looks awkward. His footwork doesn't look great. His positioning with the glove does not look solid at all. He doesn't look like he can play first base very well. Honestly, Dylan Moore's got a better shot over there. And that kind of leads to this whole pinch hitting thing. Dan Wilson has been utilizing his substitutions, putting in bench players at 6th and the 7th inning. Over several times this week, he has replaced players who were having strong games to lean into analytics. And I think this is where there's a glaring difference between Dan Wilson and Scott Service. Scott Service listened to analytics, but he also listened to his intuition, which would help, but also get him in trouble a lot. And Dan Wilson is not, I don't think he's listening to his intuition at all. He's literally just leaning into the analytics, which is the safe way to play. It totally makes sense in today's game. However, how do you allow Luke Raley to hit a home run and then you pinch hit him by his next at bat? How do you let Dylan Moore, who was the player of the week, hit a home run and then you replace him with Miles Mastroboni, who does put some pretty good at bats in, but he does not have the same pop. And he does not have the same production as Dylan Moore. No, Dylan Moore isn't great against righties, but if he's hot, let him stay hot. It's just kind of that simple. So in closing, I don't really know how I feel about Dan Wilson's managerial strategy right now. I think he does a great job with the card. I think the lineup card, he's doing the best he can with that. However, clearing out his bench at the 6th and 7th inning and just kind of drying out and relying on some dodgy relief pitching, to say the least, to end the game. There needs to be some adjusting or they need to rethink their strategy when it comes to that. So with that said, the Mariners don't have an off day after this one. So this was a getaway day after the Red Sox game. They're flying all the way back to Seattle and they're hosting the Miami Marlins here in Seattle. The Marlins are 11-13 right now. They're supposed to be bottom dwellers in the NL East, but they're not. They're not going to roll over in this series. They're going to be competitive. It's not going to be an easy win. The Mariners are going to be going for their 6th straight series win, and it starts Friday night. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Keep It Electric. I'll see you next week. Until next time, keep it electric. Go Mariners.